Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions Podcast Network.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Welcome to Rankin Bass, an offhanded joke that became a short-lived podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me is an elf who wants to become a dentist, Chris Stashew.
Yes. I am an elf, still.
Also along for the ride is the snow miser himself, Richard Haddam.
God, I hate my brother, the heat miser, so bad.
On this podcast, we're discussing the works of Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass, specifically some of their stop-motion and animated Christmas work. On this episode, we're looking at the Clash of the Titans of Christmas. No, it's not Jesus versus Santa. It is Frosty the Snowman meets Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in Frosty and Rudolph's Christmas in July. And this is kind of like the greatest hits of the Frosty and Rudolph universes. We have a lot of familiar voices. We have a lot of familiar characters. We get characters back that I never thought we would see again, like the whale with the clock in his tail. But yeah, here we are, guys. It's kind of like The Year Without a Santa Claus because we're going down to another town, but we're not in Summertown. We're now in, January Junction, where the majority of this film takes place.
You know, it's like if Avengers Endgame was just a giant Christmas suckin' fuck. That's what this is. I mean, it's like you mentioned, Mike. It's weird because we've actually kind of talked about this a little bit already, where it's like certain actors are showing back up and certain roles are being recast and certain people are playing roles that weren't theirs to begin with. And like you said, this is like the culmination of, I mean, this is the last thing we're talking about because this is the last Rankin and Bass special, to use Rudolph and Frosty. But yeah, it really is just kind of this weird melange of things.
Yeah, it's the Godfather 2 of Rankin and Bass, where they create this sort of this larger mythological matrix that hangs over and unites everything and explains everything. I mean, it explains how Rudolph got his nose, and it explains why there was a big storm that particular Christmas Eve. I mean, it explains a lot of stuff and sort of ties a lot of loose ends together.
I was thinking of this as like the Spider-Man 3 of specials, where we're like, oh no, before Uncle Ben got shot, there was another guy there, the guy that you didn't see in the first movie, but suddenly he's there and he's going to turn into Sandman. So we're just going to inject that in here. So this whole, like, the Lady Borealis and Winterbolt, and I'm sorry guys, I've been around the block before, you're just reusing the Winter Warlock's puppet here and calling him Winterbolt. So please, and I don't know if Keenan Wynn had passed away by this point, but it was just like, come on guys, this is the Winter Warlock. Let's call things the way that they should be.
I know there's like just a certain number of designs they have. Like the elves often fall into this. Like you're sort of like, oh, that's sort of like Jingle and Jangle from Year Without a Santa Claus, but just the face is a little longer, or the nose is slightly shaped differently. But yeah, there's a recognizable look, and Winterbolt. We have basically seen him before, except now he's Paul Frees.
I will say though, it is nice to see Frosty as a maquette.
Yes.
Because he looks really good as a maquette.
He does.
And it's just kind of a shame because that animation in those first two Frosty specials was such a travesty.
Yeah.
Compared to this. It's like, why didn't you just do this to begin with?
I know, right?
You're afraid of it not looking good? Like, Frosty looks great. Frosty looks as good or better than even Rudolph does.
Yeah, and when we get his origin story retold, it's like, okay, yeah, why didn't you guys do this before? This looks really good. And Crystal looks great, and the two kids who are new additions to the story, they look great. I was like, can we please go back and just redo that Frosty special and do it like this?
Yeah, well, we finally got it. They finally gave us the Frosty we've always wanted.
So voiced by Jackie Verdon. Still slow, but at least he's a maquette and not a terrible 2D animation.
Well, and now he can count to 100. Before he couldn't even count to 5, even though he slips up and says he couldn't count to 4 when he first was born. Yes.
So in this one, we find out how Rudolph got his red nose, which is never explained in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's just that he has a red nose, but for the purpose of the storytelling here, and by the way, this is by far the longest of the specials. This is an hour and 37 minutes long. This is feature length. Do we know why they did it that way? Were they going to release this?
They released this in theaters. This had a limited theatrical run.
Oh, my God. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been great when I was a child. Well, I'd say it basically holds up. Like, I didn't feel they were spinning their wheels for a lot of it. Like, okay, how do we, kill another 20 minutes with, a song or some, narrative, cul-de-sac. They just built a really big story that had a lot of parts to it that I think ultimately worked. The first thing they do is explain that Rudolph has a red nose because of, oh God, her name, Lady Borealis. She's like the spirit of the Aurora Borealis. And she's doing two things. One is she's trying to sort of take power away from Winterbolt, who has been running the North Pole for, since time immemorial, and making everybody miserable and being mean and taking their money and making everybody sad. So she at once sort of puts him to sleep and deadens his powers. But at the same time, she sort of, have I got this right? She decides that she's going to put power into Rudolph's nose so that he will always be able to help Santa keep Winterbolt in check. Is that?
She anticipates that Winterbolt is going to use his snow dragons to create a blizzard.
Those snow dragons are a bad effect. I just got to say that.
Oh my god, it's two puppets on strings that are just being pulled up and down.
Yeah, it's not good.
It is. Yeah, they're atrocious.
Yeah, they're no fun. Although those snakes that come in later, I kind of like them.
Those were cool. Well, they actually put effort into the snakes as opposed to those dragons where it's just like, just film the puppets. It'll be okay. We're not going to animate this thing. Just film the puppets.
Yeah. They don't really do a lot. So they just get them moving a little bit. And we're good. So, but what's cool about it is that they sort of redo the scene from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, where he's born and his dad shows up. Like, they don't strive to make it look exactly like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's almost like, oh, there was another hidden camera. And, or it's like a slightly different person telling the story, but it's basically the same events where he is born, he's got the red nose, they're confused, they cover it up. They do a little song where you can see that he's meeting the girl reindeer. And it's like, oh, okay. So for anyone who watches these specials, you're like, okay, got it. The same reality. This is just how that reality came about. This is the bigger story we didn't know about.
Well, it's like you said, Mike. It's like Spider-Man 3, right? It really is. Like, and there she was off in the corner.
Right.
You just didn't see her.
You didn't see her, but she was there. Trust me. I mean, it's not as flagrant as Spider-Man 3. I think Spider-Man 3 is one of the worst things ever made. And the way that they shoehorn in the Sandman is just like, oh, it is terrible. So I found this one much less disagreeable. In fact, if anything, I embrace this.
And it is funny to mention that they do go out of their way to retell both the Rudolph and Frosty story.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd, right?
Well,
like, it's almost like they want to make everything encapsulated in this one film as like it feels like the final student thesis, right? Like, I've made all these little short things, and now we're going to make this one long story that brings in, like we've mentioned, stuff from 4 other films at this point.
It makes me wonder if they were anticipating that the film would be shown to audiences who were not as familiar with the specials as we are. And if it was going to play worldwide, I think they decided, well, we at least for the people who aren't in America and don't grow up with this stuff, because there'll be territories that, I've never heard of any of these characters. We have to explain who they are.
I was very happy to see how they were explaining this all took place, not the Rudolph stuff, but like the Winterbolt and Lady Borealis stuff was taking place before Kris Kringle arrived, and then you actually get to see the Kringle family and Kris Kringle, and we go back to Santa Claus is coming to town, and we have Mickey Rooney voicing the younger Claus and then the older Claus. I was like, oh yeah, that's really nice. So it was like, okay, we're tying that one in here, so we get to see their, trek up to the North Pole before he builds the Fortress of Solitude with that one crystal from his spaceship.
Wow. Is it weird that Shelley Winters doesn't play Mrs. Claus?
It's a little weird. It's a little weird.
I guess it's because she's already playing a recognizable female lead in the film.
Yeah, she can't do both. And her voice, like, she didn't characterize her voice so drastically that you could, have her do two. So yeah, so she it's like, nope, sorry, you were most recently Crystal, and that's who you're going to be in this movie.
You know what? I think we're wrong. I think it was Shirley Booth who was being her. I don't think it was Shelley Winters who was being Mrs. Claus.
Oh, you're correct. It was Shirley Booth.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if she was busy at this time or not, but yeah, Hazel was not in this. I think Year Without a Santa Claus was her last credit. Yeah, but she died in 92, so she was still around, but just I don't think she was working anymore.
Well, speaking of final credits, this is the final time that Billy May Richards would play Rudolph. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, she passed away in 2010, but, I other than some questionable things regarding Rudolph and friends that we may or may not ever get around to talking about, this is kind of where the Rudolph character ends. as part of these Rankin and Bass stories. I mean, this is the final Rankin and Bass feature, to use Rudolph and Frosty, but this is a little bit of it's kind of a bittersweet moment, because this is the last time you're going to get to really see these characters being voiced by the actors that made them as recognizable, at least in Rudolph's case, as they would end up being.
It was nice that they brought back Red Buttons, but they didn't have him as Father Time, because that wouldn't have necessarily made any sense unless they just kind of like threw Father Time a bone with something. But it was nice that he's back as this ice cream man who's there's something to do with like how he comes up to the North Pole to get his ice cream and then goes down to January Junction in order to sell it all. And there's this whole romance that is taking place at this circus. It was kind of smart to set it in a circus. And it was interesting that of all the characters, I think that Ethel Merman, who's this cow lady, I don't want to say cow lady because she's not a cow. She's not a cow girl. She's a cow woman, I guess.
But she's not part cow. You're saying she's
not part cow.
She's like from the Old West. She's an old Western.
Yes.
She's like Annie Oakley or something, doing an Old West show. It's and that feeling, and she runs the circus.
And she gets the bulk of the songs, I think. I think she sings at least 3 solo songs, if memory serves.
Yep.
So
yeah, which is unfortunate because none of them are very memorable.
They're not that memorable. I like Chicken Today and Feathers Tomorrow. I mean, they're okay songs, but again, they're not like, oh yeah, I'm going to be singing this for the rest of my life.
No, it's not Rudolph or Frosty. And that's the weird thing. And we talked, we talked about Jack Frost in the previous episode, and I forgot to mention it there, but I'll mention it here because it still applies. It feels like they're trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It's like, we have Frosty, we have Rudolph, they're really recognizable characters. Can we make more recognizable songs for other characters? It's like, you have it twisted. The songs came first, then the characters followed. And it's much harder, clearly, to do characters than song, because they have been unable to land that in any of these, Frank.
I mean, First Toymaker to the King, that's a great song that I still remember. There's a Burgermeister song that I still remember. And then We're a Couple Misfits, and Silver and Gold, and some of the other ones from the original Rudolph are like, okay, yeah, this is something that's very familiar, something that I can whistle afterwards. And I thought it was nice that they brought back We're a Couple Misfits in this one, though now it's Rudolph has thrown over his old friend Hermie, and now is just like the sun shines out of Frosty's ass or something. It's like this whole weird thing where you were friends with somebody and now they're friends with somebody else, and it's just like, go hang out with your friend Frosty, Rudolph. Thanks a lot, buddy. I'll be sticking around here working on this elf's molars. Thanks a bunch.
Yeah, they never really circle back and tell us whatever became of Hermie.
I think he moved down to the village.
I heard in the Misfit Toys 2001 film, they address it all in horrifying CGI.
Oh my God.
I do find it weird that they have like characters from other things in this that they don't really do anything. Mm-hmm. It feels like a little bit of lip service.
Like who? Who are you talking?
Like Hermie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like like you said, he's such an integral part of that first film that it's just like, I mean, it was I guess was even weirder to me is that Hermie shows up, but they don't bring back the Bumble. They don't bring back Yukon Cornelius. They don't bring back even the character, the professor from Frosty's film. They don't bring back any of them.
Well,
but they bring back Hermie for no reason other than to just, like we said, just be this like really weird, upset character.
Well, they kind of bring back the professor from Frosty because the guy who is the evil person, Sam Spangles, he is exactly that character in 3D form.
Pretty much, yeah, sure.
And I thought it was. Like, for a second, I'm like, oh my God, they're geniuses. They're bringing back, boy, they really are going to weave all these things together. And it wasn't, then it was like, okay, well, he's not called Professor Hinkle, he's called Sam Spangle, but he performs exactly the same function. So it was great that they sort of just appealed to the part of your body that needed that character to be mean in this special, and they gave it to us.
I was very happy with a new character that they threw in there, which was the horrible reindeer. I'm trying to remember his name. Scratchy or something? Scratcher. Okay.
Scratcher. The best character in this entire film.
And I think it's Alan Seuss. Yeah. Oh my God. He is amazing.
He's amazing. He was on Laugh-In, but he was also of that era that brought us Rip Taylor and Paul Lynde.
Oh, yeah.
He was sort of the zany guy where something was just a little bit off. And back then we didn't have a word for it, but now we do. The word is homosexual. But
yeah.
He was like, oh yeah, he's that kind of comedian.
He was on, oh God, he was on like Celebrity Sweepstakes. I remember him as being like more of a somebody that would show up on game shows when I was growing up, as opposed to like, oh yeah, because I didn't watch a lot of Laugh-In, but I know that was kind of like one of the places where he made his bones. And yeah, you're right. It was just like, okay, I know this voice, and then when I looked up the actor, I was like, okay, yeah, I so know this guy's face.
Well, and you have this character who requires an actor with comedic timing.
Oh, yeah.
And an understanding of like how to do a voice that makes you at times threatening, but at other times, I mean, he's a complete dud of a villain in a large way. But it's so fun to me to finally see a character that is the antithesis of everything we've seen introduced in all these films so far. And he has a physical deformity, and yet he is going to be a villain. Yeah. You would think like, oh, he's, they're going to try to redeem him in some way. It's like, nah, he's kind of just this piece of shit reindeer.
Yeah, he's a real bastard.
They really do hit every single moment and dramatic situation you can possibly hit. In the original Frosty the Snowman, Professor Hinkle locks Frosty in the greenhouse at the very end. Which, by the way, when I saw that when I was a kid, that was traumatizing to me.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that was murder. It took me a while to get over that, and I would get scared when I would watch that because I'm like, this is the one where the guy literally is like, no, I'm going to kill you, Frosty. I mean, that one hurt, and then when he was revived, it was like, oh, thank God. But something along those lines. I mean, spoiler alert: they revisit that dramatic moment in this one for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of echoes in this one, and
they find new ways that everyone sort of gets to be the hero. And nope, we figured this out. I mean. It's the one dramatic beef I have with it is that one part of the story hinges upon the notion that if Rudolph ever uses his red nose for evil instead of good, he will then lose the power to have a nose that lights up. And what ends up happening is that he sort of mistakenly uses it, thinking he's helping, but he's actually assisting in a crime, which to me felt unfair. I thought, are we actually going to get a moment where Rudolph, experiences some moment of anger or rage or some sort of petty emotion that will lead him to want to use his nose in a bad way? But no, it's it's the fake crime. It's I just have to be guilty of this crime, even though I didn't even know I was committing a crime.
Right.
Well, Rudolph's a gullible sap, right?
He is.
And that's what it is. Rudolph's a gullible.
He's a rube.
Yeah. You know what you look like to me, Rudolph? You look like a rube.
But this is, again, I mean, in this special actually articulates it. It's like, I want someone, we need to find, Scratcher or Scratchy, the evil reindeer. Because Winterbolt says, I need Rudolph's opposite. I need someone as cunning as he is gullible, as evil as he is good. And once again, we're being told, well, good is synonymous with innocence, is synonymous with being kind of dumb and gullible. And of course, being gullible is what gets him into trouble, but we value him for that because he's so guileless that he can't be held responsible for his actions when he's just going along with what he thinks is helping someone else.
Pretty much. It's I to your point, Richard, I would have liked there to have been a moment of Rudolph actually being a complex character as opposed to just being a big dummy. I mean, he's just a big dummy. You know, he's too good for his own good, is what they essentially have said, and that's an unfortunate scenario when you write a character into being that has. I mean, Frosty and Rudolph are effectively one-dimensional characters, and it seems like all the villains or secondary characters are the ones who are actually given some characterization, as opposed to Rudolph and Frosty and Crystal, who are all just kind of
they're just pure
good always.
They're just pure goodness, and pure goodness you can only hit that note so many times. So of course the bad guys can be funny and clumsy and evil, and yet also vulnerable. They can be a lot of things, but basically Rudolph and Frosty have to be the Christ child. They have to be a being of pure innocence and
infallible in every way.
Exactly. And so they're appealing, and we like them because we can depend on them for goodness, but that's kind of where it ends. They can only that's as far as they can.
And it's unfortunate because you know, this is I think, what is this, the third time we've seen Rudolph now, and the third time that we've seen Frosty, and they don't have characters. I mean, Rudolph gets some characterization in that first film because, I'm a misfit, misfit toys, I'm going to go there, and maybe maybe that's where I'll fit in. And that's as much characterization as we get for Rudolph, and that's as much characterization as we ever get for Rudolph, and Frosty included. We never learn anything about Frosty other than, he needs a wife because he gets lonely outside.
I thought that in Winter Wonderland, didn't Jack Frost hook them up with, you don't have to worry about melting now, or the hat coming off and you turning back into a pile of snow? I thought we solved that problem, but yet that problem's back in this one.
Well, when Winterbolt, a.k.a. Father Winter, can do whatever he wants, he just completely ignored the final film, even though they reference it by having Jack Frost in this movie.
Right.
Well, Winterbolt gives them, he's like, oh, don't worry, you can go down into the village and see the circus by the sea, even in July, because I'm going to give you these medallions, and as long as you're back by the time the final firework finishes, you'll be okay. And so he gives them these medallions to wear, and then of course that's the thing that then he contrives, this is Winterbolt, contrives to make sure that Santa actually can't arrive in time to bring them back. So indeed Frosty and his wife and 2 children will die because the final firework will go off and then they'll melt because it's July. And then they make the deal, okay, well, I'll extend the magic and keep them alive, but only if Rudolph accepts blame for this crime and never claims that he is innocent. And so that turns into that. Well, and the hat. But then what happens is, and it's a really great twist, when they finally do dispatch with Winterbolt, he dies, but with him, his magic dies, which means those medallions are useless, which means Frosty and his wife and kids all melt. And then it's like, oh, Jesus, I didn't see this coming. That was like a good twist. I was like, I thought we were done. Oh, shit, we still got 6 minutes. And then Rudolph has to be really, really brave and basically get, the witch's broom, which is, of course, the hat, and then bring it back. And then the hat is able to revive everyone. And everyone goes home alive and happy. But it was cool. It's like a last-minute twist.
It's really
like Alexander Goodenough showing up at the end of Die Hard.
And Al's got to take care of that guy. Finally gets his mojo back.
He murders a man, so now he can be a cop again.
Exactly. Well, that's what you have to do if you want to be a cop in L.A. Sorry. It's really weird. The Wikipedia for this has Thurl Ravenscroft listed as one of the cast members, but I don't see that listed anyplace else. And
he was looking for some Grim Grinning Ghost, man. That's where he was.
I was wondering if he was maybe the voice of that kind of oracle that Winterbolt uses, because I don't know if that was just somebody where they pitched their voice down, because Thurl Ravenscroft has like one of the lowest voices ever. For listeners at home, if you don't recognize that name, you've heard him sing You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. And he was also, I think, the voice of Tony the Tiger. So he's got that really deep voice.
If you've ever been to Disneyland, which I know Richard has living in LA, he also is one of the singing heads on the Haunted Mansion. Yeah. He also plays one of the birds in the Tiki Room. He also does voices on Pirates of the Caribbean. I believe he might also be the voice for the Disneyland Railroad. So, I mean, that as someone who is a fan of his work, primarily because I'm such a huge fan of Disney, and Disneyana, it's weird to me that he's, like you said, Mike, he's billed, but I never heard.
Yeah. Like I said, unless he's that oracle, that's
genie.
it.
He's called the Winter Genie.
The genie. Yeah.
I think that's the only thing it could be. Exactly. The evil oracle that kind of tells Winterbolt what to do. Yeah.
It's funny because, like, as we were watching the original Frosty, like the first two Frosty things, especially once Crystal came alive, I was just like, okay, great, now they can make an army of snow people. And then that ends up being his plan, and this is like, oh, I can get that hat and I'll make an army of snow people. It's like, all right, good, at least we're thinking along the same lines here, Winterbolt.
You're just as evil as he is.
I am just as evilly. And somehow he gets defeated by Ethel Merman throwing her guns at him. I wasn't sure if that was because of the iron in the guns, and that iron has special properties against creatures.
You're 100% correct. That is absolutely the case. And this goes back, way back to the beginning of stories of demons and supernatural creatures. Almost the way that garlic or holy water will frighten off a vampire, iron is considered the thing you must use against all mischievous or evil supernatural creatures. Silver bullets do werewolves in, but when it comes to like demons and fairies and evil, wood sprites and things like that, iron is what you use, and they absolutely knew that when they had her throw her guns at him, and it worked. Right. I was pretty impressed with that too. Yeah.
Yes, I just threw in a Maleficent reference, so I hope you guys are happy with that. Yes. We have somehow tied this movie into the supernatural-averse.
Yeah, well, look, the fact of the matter is, this one, again, written by Romeo Muller, as I think they all were, this one really works. I mean, I'm sure the first challenge was, okay, it's going to be twice as long as any other one we've ever done, which has production challenges, but also it's like, can these stories hold up for an hour and 40 minutes almost? I mean, is there any way we can keep people interested and entertained? I think they kind of do. I mean, they have a really cool time clock, when the 100th firework goes off, he's dead. And that gets you through most of the movie. And after that, it's even though there's still a half hour to go, it's pretty much just, you're on rails. It's just a ride to the end. So I thought that pretty much worked. What did you guys think?
Like you mentioned, Richard, it is, look, from a story standpoint, it feels like a lot of this story is front loaded because the later part of the film just, it's not that it's not anything interesting, but like you said, it just kind of just goes on its own.
Yeah. The first half is the wind up, and then the toy just spins itself out.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I was watching this yesterday and getting ready to do a quasi Thanksgiving at my mom's, and I'm just like, okay, this has to be over pretty soon. And I was like, there's another half hour to go of this thing. That's pretty remarkable. But they managed to keep it up. I thought that they did a pretty good job with this one, and I thought it was kind of a fitting ending, again, to tie all this stuff together. And to your point from our last episode, Chris, we've got Paul Frees. Well, Paul Frees does a lot in here with the Winterbolt. But then he's also back as Jack Frost at the very end, coming in on that whale that I mentioned, who shows up in the Shiny New Year. So it was kind of nice that we had the whale coming back, and then we have Jack Frost, though now he's visible. He's not invisible to the naked eye anymore, apparently. But whatever, I'm not going to throw canon around with this one.
But it felt like they were not checking boxes, but they wanted to sort of acknowledge that everything they had done was from the same universe. Even if they hadn't planned it that way, it's like, we're going to do a thing that says, no, it all does sort of come together in a cohesive whole. Like, if any special ever had a curtain call where they come out and bow to the applause of, penguins or whatever, this would have been that one, just for everyone to have their final moment of, here we are. In fact, it made me want to see more people. I wanted more Misfits from the Island of Misfit Toys. I wanted Moonchaser. I wanted Burl Ives. There were, if you're going to do it, bring in Heat Miser, Snow Miser, bring them all back, But I guess we just had to be happy with what we have.
Yeah, where was fucking Jangle and Jingle,
I was honestly wondering where Heat and Frost Miser, because a lot of what's going on in this story, it felt like they would have been involved.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, this feels very much like Summertown, where they had to have snowfall, but now it's January Junction, but it's the middle of July here in January Junction, and yeah, we've got these characters who are very snowbound walking around. I was just like, oh, well, if this fails, you can, rather than maybe even Jack Frost coming in at the end, like, they could have used the Snow Miser to kind of save the day on this had they had Heat's permission to have a little bit of snowfall or cold weather in January Junction.
Well, and again, let's not forget here, this is again a Rudolph and Frosty film that is the final film that they would ever have essentially together and or at all. And instead of setting it at Christmas time, they set it in July.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
I know, it's just a little odd to me, I guess. Like, it's actually pretty fucking weird. Because the story has nothing to do with Christmas.
No.
It has to do with snow.
Right. It just has to do with maintaining the livelihood of our beloved Christmas icons. It's like...
Right. It's like, oh, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus are going to show up for the circus?
Yes.
But they can't because of Winterbolt.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very seasonal. And by the way, maybe that was the point too. Maybe they're like, look, we're going to be exhibiting this film in regions where Christmas, at least the way we recognize it here in the States, is not that big a deal. But everyone has summer and everyone has winter, so let's lean into that. That may have been part of it. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, that is an explanation that makes perfect sense. I mean, again, you have cultures around the world that don't celebrate Christmas. But again, it also goes back to something I was talking to one of my friends who lives in the UK, and he is the same age as me, and he said that he never saw these as a kid. Any of these. These were not easy to find growing up in the UK. So it's even weirder to me. Like, these things were not... This is like... It seems to me that these Rankin and Bass specials are very, very, very American.
Yeah, I think they are classic Americana.
Yeah, and there's always going to be an issue trying to bridge the gap between something that feels so uniquely American that, trying to make it, quote, applicable or easily understandable by cultures that, like you mentioned, Richard, don't put Christmas in such a high regard. It's almost like you set yourself up for failure from the get-go.
Yeah. Yeah, but but it's weird because telling a story around the Christmas holiday is immediately compelling. I mean, it's so funny. It's immediately compelling to modern day screenwriters. Shane Black has said openly that he always tries to set his movies at Christmas, right? And Home Alone, Die Hard. There's just it immediately lends context and meaning and emotion to whatever is near it, and for Americans. but if you step outside that, it's just kind of weird. It's powerful here, but it loses its power really quickly once you step outside of the United States.
I am curious because this runs, I want to say, over 90 minutes, the version that we watched. And, well, like, I was looking up ads for it, and it's like an ad for ABC. Rudolph and Frosty in an all-new holiday special film, 90-minute special. And I'm like, well, that's not right, because this would be 2 hours without commercials. I wonder if there was a different version of this where they would chop some stuff out to make it fit into 90 minutes with commercials.
Oh, for sure. For sure. They would have no qualms about cutting 20 minutes out of this to make it fit into 90 minutes and then stick on, Frosty or, some other half-hour special, The Grinch or whatever. Because so many of these things just run on, Freeform, ABC Family, just cable stations that, kind of, turn December into a lot of really easy programming. It's just, the best Christmas ever or the 25 days of Christmas or whatever those things are, and just pack as much stuff in as possible. And that's the crazy thing is that, like, I think, Chris, that's probably where I don't know, because I always forget how old you are, but that's probably where you saw most of these, was just on cable, not, hey, it's Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on December 10th.
Right.
Oh, my God, it's Grinch night or Charlie Brown night or Rudolph night. That was how I grew up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here.
And well, to your point, Richard, as a 30-year-old growing up in, as a millennial, growing up in the 90s, that is how I saw them. I still remember it, and I'm sure some station still does it. Is it on Christmas Day? Some stations run fucking Christmas Story all day, all day. Like literally, the moment it ends, it starts back up again, and it is 24 hours of the Christmas Story. And like, I grew up in that kind of time and place where, like you said, this is when these things were kind of becoming, 25 Days of Christmas, like, that's all contemporary. So I didn't watch a lot like that, but I remember seeing, that's the thing, like, it's weird to me. I actually don't remember when I saw Frosty and Rudolph for the first time. And that's like a weird thing to me because I can't be the only person my age who has seen it, but doesn't remember when or how we saw it. Like, what was the vehicle through which we saw it?
Yeah.
And like you said, Richard, I would like to believe it had to have been on network television, but I don't think I owned this on VHS. Not this particularly, but like any of the Rankin Bass. I know you can buy them on DVD now because I own them on DVD as an adult, but I don't remember how I saw Rudolph and Frosty or even The Year Without Christmas. Like, I know I saw them. I just genuinely don't remember how, but my assumption is something ABC or ABC Family did at some point in the 90s.
Well, I think we talked about this in the previous episodes, but it became so well known as a big network television event that you would even know the advertisers. Like, for Charlie Brown, it was linked with Dolly. It was Dolly Madison. Dolly Madison
and McDonald's
owned Charlie Brown. Yeah,
it'd be like, and you were brought to you by McDonald's. You deserve a break today, and Dolly Madison.
Yes. Oh my God, that's exactly it. Oh my God, Mike, you got it. Yes, and the Peanuts characters would be shown, bopping down a supermarket aisle and picking up Dolly Madison products, and these are our favorites, and a Wonder Bread. These were things that it made perfect sense that they were all linked up. So that was part of the network specialness of it all.
I was just going to say, as far as owning these, I don't own like the huge box because I think there is something that has like all of this stuff collected just based upon like seeing the poster art and the way that everything has been kind of normalized, that it all looks like it's a part of a whole. So like Little Drummer Boy and Nelson and all of these things all looking like they're one part of one whole. I don't have that, but I do have like a smaller set of like Santa Claus is coming to town, You're Without a Santa Claus. And it was one of these like, hey, this is cheap. I like these things. I'll probably pop these on once a year. So let's go ahead and buy this. And But yeah, I know that somewhere out there you can get that whole collection of all of these things. Though I don't know how far they go, because do they stray from Christmas stuff? Is there like the Pinocchio story?
It's Christmas.
Okay, so that makes sense.
The box set that I have is the box set is it's like a white container, and all the DVDs they all have a uniform white face. You can actually see it if you download it or just go look online. They are all made to look uniform, but I believe, best I can tell, it's all the Christmas films. So there's like Cricket on the Hearth is there because that's a Christmas story. But there's a lot of the ones that we've talked about already, and none of the, Here Comes Peter Cottontail's not part of it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Right. The first Easter Rabbit's not part of it either. But it is weird that these are this kind of idea that really didn't go very far elsewhere. It kind of stayed here, even though people around the world know who Rudolph and Frosty are. Those are have become a thing that have escaped the boundaries of the American continent of the United States. I mean, I don't know if they have it in Canada. I really don't know if these even made it to the Canada or Mexico, really.
Yeah.
I would actually be curious if we could, if I would be curious how well known these are elsewhere. Because like I said, talking to someone who lives in the UK, he knew about them, but he never saw them, which means there is a disconnect around the world about knowing about these or seeing these.
Well, for a second, I was thinking, well, yeah, at their height, I'm sure there was a lot of talk about, okay, well, what else can we do? What other holidays, what other things can we sort of capitalize on that people will understand, but it can be, different from Christmas? And then I thought, oh, they should have done a Halloween one. And then I immediately thought of The Nightmare Before Christmas, which looks like it is stop motion animation. I don't know if that is what it is.
It is.
Uh-huh.
It is. It's made by
Henry Selick.
Henry Selick, yeah, the guy who did all the Leica films, Box Trolls.
Oh, right, okay.
Kubo, Paranorman, yeah.
Coraline.
Tim Burton just produced Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right. I knew
that's
Henry Selick more from, what was that, Slow Bob and the Lower Dimensions. It was a little thing that they would show on MTV often, and it was a mix of puppetry, stop motion, live action, just everything, and you threw it all into a blender, and it was fucking fantastic. So when I heard that he was doing Nightmare Before Christmas, I was like, yeah, sign me up. Whatever this guy does, I'm interested in. I can't say that I fell in love with The Corpse Bride, but everything else I like.
It's because The Corpse Bride's not very good.
Yeah.
It is like, to your point though, Mike, we had mentioned that we were only going to talk about Christmas stuff for this first iteration of Rankin on Bass. But for those of you that don't know, I mean, they did the fucking Hobbit.
They definitely did The Hobbit, and it's a much better Hobbit than what we saw Peter Jackson do.
Yeah, and it's animated by Topcraft, which is the studio that essentially Studio Ghibli was this was the precursor to Studio Ghibli. So, or Ghibli, I would assume it's pronounced because I'm a gaijin, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But,
as we all are.
They've done a lot of other stuff. Them stopping with the Rudolph and Frosty stuff, they stopped it because they went on and did other things.
Right, exactly.
And I kind of understand that in a way.
An episode just dedicated to The Last Unicorn would be really proper.
Hey, look, I'm in. I was impressed enough with Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July, which I did not have high hopes for. That bought them a few more viewings from me. So I'll check out whatever they got.
And they did do a Halloween-esque one with Mad Monster Party, which predated, I think
really?
predated Rudolph. Or not, it didn't predate Rudolph, but it was like 3 years after Rudolph.
Yeah, which I've never seen, and I know some people love it. And I don't know if Boris Karloff did a voice or if there's just a character that looks like Boris Karloff.
No, Boris Karloff plays a character in it.
Okay. We got to do that. We have to watch.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, and the thing about Rankin and Bass as we're here on this final episode is like the amount of stuff that Rankin and Bass did that's not Halloween or not holiday themed is almost as much as the holiday stuff that they did. It's like 50-50 almost. I mean, they would go on to do more stuff with Santa. I mean, they did The Life and Adventures of Santa in '85, which was based off of an L. Frank Baum book. But it's weird, like, this is it for Rudolph and Frosty. And they kind of put a nice little bow on it, and I think it works more or less. It works as much as it was going to, really.
Yeah. I'm more of a fan now than I was a month ago before I'd seen a lot of these.
That's all we could hope for, Richard.
My heart has grown 3 sizes today.
Oh, good Lord. Get this man to the emergency room.
We just need to find time to sit down, the three of us, and talk about the Rankin and Bass production that I'm the most excited to talk about.
Which is?
Also written by Romeo Muller, which is The Smokey the Bear Show.
Oh, wow.
What? I've never heard
Featuring
of it.
Billy May Richards, the voice of Rudolph, as Cub Smokey, Smokey the Bear's son.
Wow.
Or small version of Smokey, maybe.
Oh, my God. All right.
I mean, again, like, that's like with Rankin and Bass, like, this is what people know of Rankin and Bass, but there's so many more exciting things that Rankin and Bass have done. That's like the stuff that nobody talks about. I don't know how many people are talking about Cricket on the Hearth or The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, but Rudolph gets play every year without fail.
All right. Well, I say we got to take a deep dive and really rank on Bass to the degree that they deserve.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I want to thank Abby Stabby for our artwork, as well as the Great Octopus for our theme music. Be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. And it sounds like we'll be back. Sounds like this short-lived series might come back sometime in 2021, and we might take that deep dive, like you were saying. So just keep watching the feed, guys. We'll be back.